Hi dear students, today we will be dealing with regarding module 3 of Principles of Business Decision of semester 2, which is production analysis. Production analysis, before going into production analysis, as this is a online platform, so I had shared this uh, PowerPoint presentation with you in the group. So you must be very diligently handling these things because you have to refer your textbook also while consistently hearing this session. You have to refer your textbook and underline the main points, and by using this PowerPoint mechanism I am just giving you the main points which can has to be discussed and which has to be studied. For elaborate understanding you have to refer your textbooks, and if you have any doubts please sensibly ask to me, and don't hesitate to do that. So in this medium we will make it sure that you get the information maximum. So this is the preface I would like to make before even going into the production analysis. So we'll begin. So the content of this video will be we will be going only half, but the rest will be taken in the second half. So this will be based on the two videos we will create. So first part we'll be discussing about production. Second we will discuss about production theory, production function, Cobb-Douglas production function, concepts of production, and law of production and law of variable proportion. This will be formulating our first video, and law of returns to scale, isochronous and least cost input, and economies and diseconomies of scale we will discuss in the second video. So this is what is regarding to the flow of the concepts and flow of the content we discussed in this video. So we directly move into the first part. So as the title of the module is regarding production analysis, so the first term to be very much described is what is production. So production, in common parlance, production means creation of utilities. So in layman's point of view, if you think production is something to create something, we do something to create something. So that can be clearly segregated and understood that we have to create something to satisfy the human want. It is not just creation. This have some utility. By combining few things and uh, taking it through a process, we are trying to introduce or trying to make something which has what a utility for its users. So production is an activity of conversion of input into outputs, which are aimed at creation of products which that satisfy human wants. So that have some utility. That's the major part of the discussion. According to J.R. Hicks, production is an activity, whether physical or mental, which is directed to satisfaction of people wants through exchange. So it's very clear from the definition. No? You are creating or you're doing an activity, whether it is a physical or mental activity, for satisfying the wants of people. So that creates production. So it's very clear that 3 points can be derived from the uh, definition. So that it can be either a mental or physical activity. So we have to convert our mental or physical activity of inputs into output, which has come to the second point, which is we creating some products to satisfy the wants of people. And the third part, we discussed that satisfaction of human wants is the objective of the production. So without satisfying the wants of people, people won't give you what something called sales proceed, or people won't give you the money which you had spent on producing this product. So this can be treated as economic terms also. Production can be very much treated as we are studying the economical factors of production. So economics can be clearly stated here. In order to develop a product you have to create something which can be useful for satisfying some people's human wants. So in that preface, we will go into the factors of production. As you know, it is a fundamental part of economics that there are four factors of production: land, labor, capital, and organization or enterprise. So this four combination has, or the combination of four things can create something. So in case of mental activity, you need only people. The capital part is the human itself. So, but in case of a product to be developed, you need these four of things. In case of mental activities like advisory service, you need only labor, capital, and organization. Land is not a mandatory thing because now people are doing things virtually. Being at work at home, you do things virtually. So, this kind of factors of production are now in the present scenario questionable because land is not a mandatory to what produce something. So that kind of imaginary things are coming out. So I just throw your thinking to that kind of level where you can think of something in future. There will be factors of production called capital and organization. There won't be land and labor because land will be occupied by virtual scenario, labor will be taken over by artificial intelligence. So the only thing which required is the capital and organization. So this will promote, this will be the future. You just think on it. Okay, so we move into the next part. What are the elements of production? We discussed it earlier. It is physical, it can be either physical or mental activity, so it is not mandatory that the activity should be physical because mental activities also can be part of production, and it has to satisfy the wants of people. And very importantly, this produced thing shall be transferable. It can be exchanged to different person so that his wants and needs will be satisfied. So the explanation we had discussed earlier, so that is not we are not going to discuss it again. So the point is very clear. We have to do a physical or mental activity which is directed to satisfy the wants of other people by transferring them. So that is simply called production. So then we go to the second part. The point to be discussed is production theory. So we had clearly studied what is production. Now we go to the production theory. Production theory simply means what? The the primary motive of any organization while producing something will be two concepts that you see in the screen. The first one will be uh, there will be two concepts. First one will be satisfying the wants of persons. Without doing that, you cannot survive. If the people's wants are not satisfied, the next day they won't buy your product. And the second objective will be to maximize the profit. The first part is marketing concept, but the second part is economics concept. As we are dealing with principles of business decision in macro and micro environment of the economic part, that's why we will deal with only one thing, which is profit maximization. On the other hand, if you ask me what is the main production theory concept, the motive of organization will be two multi-phased. The first one will be to satisfy the human one. Without satisfying human one, you cannot survive in any market. If you are producing which anything which is not satisfying people, that will be thrown out from the market. That is the history what we have. So, and the second objective will be maximize their profit. So we are looking upon only one part, which is maximize the profit. So maximization of profit can be only done through two ways. You have only two things in your bag to increase your profit. The first part is to increase the selling price. Imagine you are producing a pen and the pen is sold by 10 rupees and the cost of production is 8. So you're making a profit of 2 rupees. So the only way to increase your profit is either you increase the selling price to 11 or you reduce the cost of production to 7. And which is the most easy possible way to do so? Because increasing your selling price, you are not the person who is paying for this. People may think, why should I pay rupees 11 for this pen, because it only worth enough for 10. So by doing so, your sales may come down. So increasing the selling price is not that much easy way to increase your profit. The only thing which you can control in your company, because you are responsible for that, is the cost. So the second part will be much more discussable. So in economics, we are not thinking on the selling price, because I mentioned earlier it is a marketing concept. Because the price of a commodity, selling price of a commodity is hugely compatible. You cannot change your price as you like because people won't accept it. That's the problem. Imagine if the cost of petrol is increasing day by day, and it has increased such a way that the people can't afford, the sales of petrol will always fall down. But in order to increase profit, there may be possibility that people may reduce the cost production. So people, what did people do? Instead of buying petrol, they started switching over with electronic vehicles, electrical vehicles. They had moved on. So see, that selling price will not, if you're increasing your selling price, may not affect you positively, because it may be very much devastating. So reducing cost, it's your part. You can reduce your cost by using efficient mechanisms. So we will be discussing more on that aspect in production theory. So we'll go in detail what is production theory. Production theory provides tool to make use of available input in most of efficient and economical manners. As you see, here we are discussing on the cost part, because what we have the available input is our cost. Anything which is coming into your company is the cost which you incur. And imagine a company have a hundred units of plastic bags, because the company is printing plastic bags, so they bought 100 units of plastic bags. So plastic bag is their input. So how efficiently they use this plastic bag? They print on it, and they cost a higher price. If the printing is very good, people will buy that product or that plastic bag in a higher cost. If the printing is too bad, the people won't buy. So it is a theory where you make use of available input most efficiently, most economical manner, so that you can reduce your cost of production, by thus in turn increase your profit. It studies the relationship between variable possible combination of input and output. So what are the different combinations of input you have? You can produce how much maximum, and what is the maximum point at which you can produce, so that you will get maximum profit. It also suggests how factors of production are to be combined to produce output. So as we have now four factors of production we have listed earlier. What is the optimum combination? Because increase in land will increase your cost, because land buying is not that much easy. Living in Ernakulam, you know what is the cost of land. So next part is labor. As you know, labor is also not cheap. In Kerala, the labor charges are very high. So increasing your labor also is not that much easy part. And next one, capital. Very importantly, that is the most difficult part to get, because the people are not wanting to invest on the companies now. So to raise capital, that also requires huge amount of money, and not on money. By money, I mean effort. There not be money much required, but the effort of the investors, the effort of the promoter is very high to raise capital. And finally, organizations, that also is not easy to manage people, that also is not easy. So these four factors of productions are very difficult to manage, and you have to find an optimum way to combine this together to increase your profit, as you are playing chess. Because you have to move your 16 coins in such a manner that you will win. The same thing happens here. You have to maintain the balance of factors of production such a way that it will increase your production, or not only production, it will increase your profit. Some production increase won't give you profit, because sometimes producing less will increase your profit. So that kind of combinations can be identified using production theory. So in competitive market, the focus of demand and supply determining selling price. So it is not your duty, and or not, it is not your call to increase your selling, decide your selling price. A producer has control over only price, or what he have, less control over price, because he is not the person who is deciding the price. Hence, he tries to reduce cost of production in order to increase the profit. So this is the fundamental concept of production theory, where the producer finds, or the producer of a commodity looks into the cost of production, and how the combinations of productions can be done, so that the cost of production will come down. So this is the fundamental aspects of um, production theory. But the production theory can be also think in a such a way that you have to find a solution, because the cost is very important in your profit margin. So whatever may be the cost increases, your profit is going to decrease. So the cost will eat up your profit margin. So you have to somehow reduce that cost. So what is the mechanism? I hope you had all watched the wonderful movie called Mission Mangal. If you have not, please do watch, because it's a nice movie which clearly shows the Indian Space Research Organization (ISRO) expanding into Mangalyaan. That's a very big achievement done by ISRO, and we are very, as an Indian, we must be very proud of it. So the way they done, because NASA had pumped more than 10x. That means if India is spending one, NASA is spending 10 rupees on something. So India had developed a technology which is very cheaper, because we are not that much developed nation as United Nations. So USA, United States of America. So which is funding NASA, as our country is much focusing on poor people who have not, we are the developing nation, we are not at all developed nation, so we are a developing nation, so we have many much problems in our country. In spite of that, our scientists have found a very cost effective mechanism to reach Mars. So that was a great idea. So the only way they can do so is to reduce cost. So how they reduced the cost of production or cost of launch is very, I would say, inspirational to every entrepreneur. So you have to watch such movies. So they say, instead of achieving something, they thought of achieving at low cost. So the hero of the movie very clearly say, we are Indians, so we cannot afford huge cost. For NASA, you can say directly, okay, I have this plan, this is the amount of money I want, people will fund. But in India, that's not the way. Because if you have an idea and it is costly, always the government will say, no, we can't fund it because this amount is very huge. So that we are people of country, we are living in a country where people are dying out of food, and you are asking fund for space research. So that kind of contradictions comes. So same thing happens in production theory. I just went out of context to make you understand that what is profit maximization through reducing cost. So this is the only mechanism what we can do. So we move to the next part, production function. So we will what is production function? This can be a 2 marks question in the um, examination. So production function is defined as the functional relationship between quantity of goods produced and factors of production required to produce the given quantity of a commodity. So very important. So what is the relationship? It's a functional relationship. It's not a relationship. It's a functional relationship between quantity of goods produced. So if you are producing 10 units of commodity, what is the combination of factors of production required to do so? So it is also known as input output relationship. The goods produced are called output, and the factors of productions are called as input. So as you see, we use land, labor, capital, and organization as factors of production. Let us suppose we have 20 units of capital and 5 units of labor, and we can produce 50 units of commodity. So with the use of 20 unit of machines and 5 units of labor, we can produce 50 units per day. And here 20 units of capital and 5 units of labor are physical input, and 50 units of commodity produced is physical output. The relation between two is called production function. So instead of going for this part into text, you can just read this slide. You just understand this slide so you can write your concept in the examination. So what is the thing? We are now taking only two combinations. Out of 20 unit of capital and plus 5 unit of labor, you could produce 50 units of commodity, and that relationship is called production function. So it will be very muchly demonstrated using a formula called Q is equal to function of, Q means quantity output. Always we denote output by Q. So Q is quantity output is equal to function of, that is why it's F, function of ABC. ABC are what? Our input, like labor, capital, etc. We have four factors of production: labor, land, capital, and organization. That can be part of that. So this is the mechanism. So here we are focusing on factors of production, which is very muchly uh, relationship between the output. So how much factors of production you put in, that will determine your what? Your output. So if your factors of production is less, you will produce more. If your factors of production is more, you will increase more. So what is the optimum combination? Because while for producing 50 units of a commodity, it is not necessary you must use 20 capital and 5 units of labor. There can be possibility that you can use 10 units of capital and increase the labor into 7, you can get 50 units. We don't know. So you have to find the optimal solution which is having the lowest cost of output relationship. So this is simply called input output relationship, simply is called production function. Please mind you, please focus on the equation. Understand the concept. A functional relationship between quantity of goods produced. So what is the quantity of goods produced and what are the factors of production required to produce? That relationship is called production function. And then you go to the equation and finally you go to the example so that the answers will be perfect. Next one is assumptions of production function. Very important. Every economic theory is based on some assumptions. So the production function has this relationship only if the level of technology remains constant. If the level of technology changes, sometimes if the technology is so good that even labor content will be very less. So just to take an example, you go to channels like Asianet, channels like Surya, channels like Maravil Manorama. They have huge number of people to do their program. But look upon Safari channel run by Santosh George Kolangara. He don't even have a support from advertisement, and his staff, the number of staff is very less, but he runs the program 24/7. How this is possible? Because for Asianet and Maravil Manorama and Surya, there are many number of workers working for them, so he used the technology. So when technology changes, the factors of production always changes. The person with higher technology will have lesser combination, and the person with very low technology will have higher combinations. You look upon the agriculture sector in the country. That's a very classical example. So if you go to US, what happens? The number of people and number of effort, or the time and effort required to plow a paddy field, it's very less. But you come to Kutanad, the people will be there will be two or three people who will come and will have their ox and they will plow with the ox. So this requires a lot of effort, time, energy, people. Since we are not using the best technology, what happens? Our combination of factors of production have different results. So in order to make sure that all function remains constant, the technology should not change. If the technology changes by time, obviously your production function also will change. So that's why the technology function should be constant. Then only what will happen? Q will be equal to function of A, B, C, D. The firm uses its input at maximum level of efficiency. Very important. If its input is not used at maximum level, the results also will change. Because imagine what people do. No, sometimes people give their best. Sometimes people don't give their best. So if the people are giving, if the labor is giving the best performance, the output will be also best. So that level of efficiency must not change. If it is changing, the problem will arise because the function will not work, the production function will not work. And very importantly, this is relating to a particular period of time only, because as time changes, what will happen? The inputs efficiency will be changing, the technology also will be changing. And inputs are divisible, very much important, because we can divide the capital, we can divide the labor. There are some scenarios where the inputs cannot be changed. You take an example of machinery. You cannot make a machinery into half. You cannot reduce the machinery into half. If the Then only we can say at the 50 percentage level of capital and the number of people is increased, the production will be different. But you won't understand this because you are living in a world where technology has embedded in such a manner that the labor time and the labor effort is very less. You imagine old banks. You cannot divide a computer into two. and give it to people, because the input is not divisible, because input is a single computer. But you can, what you can do, if there are two people, you can do what, you can give, take away one, you can throw, take away one person and make him not to work, and see what is the production level. So there is the possibility of indivisibility of inputs always comes in production function theory. But the assumption is that the inputs are are very much divisible, and a change in variable factor will produce a corresponding change in output. That means any change in input will change in output, will have a corresponding change in output. That is a mandatory thing in a production function. That may not be true in every cases, because if you increase more capital, if you increase more machinery, there is no probable possibility of chance that you will increase your production. Because machinery, if you don't have raw materials, how much you increase, not at a problem, that won't increase your what production. So this assumption has to be think of while calculating production function. If the production function is asked for 5 marks, this is the answer you have to give. You have to clearly explain what is the production function, and you have to show what are the assumptions of production function. You please go into textbook also while I am saying, because the textbook will give you detailed explanation regarding this, because the assumptions are very detailedly discussed in a textbook. Now we go into the next part of our explanation. It is Cobb-Douglas function, Cobb-Douglas production function. A study conducted by Paul D. Douglas and C.W. Cobb, a production of American manufacturing industry. This is way backly done. It is not, maybe may not be true now. It was way backly done in the 90s. But the study revealed that uh, there is a combination of things, because on those time 1 unit of output requires 0.75 unit of labor and 0.25 unit of capital. That is the production function. The last part in the screen, you see this 1 unit of output. In order to increase your 1 unit of output, you need to increase 0.75 unit of labor. That means 75 percentage this factory or this unit or American manufacturing industry on that time was labor intensive, because labor was contributing more, and only you for that you have to increase only 25 percentage of your capital. That means you have to increase your production machinery only 25 percentage, because it this clearly states that those period the American manufacturing industries were focusing on, they were labor intensive. But now we understand, take it to the present scenario. This is very much outdated. Douglas production function is outdated. As you know, now the labor intensity of the manufacturing industry is too less. I will clearly explain you with an example. What happened in Japan? There was a very much funny case, or one funny legal fight between a person and a factory. In night he saw some shadows, which is very much frightening, because while traveling back to his home in a missionary or in a factory, he saw very big shadows which are monstrous, so that he was afraid of that shadows. He filed a case against the company, because he saw something very much weird in the company. There is something weird happening in the night. So the company studied about that and found that what he saw was the robots working on the night. Because robots working in the night, the light reflected on them, and it was reflected on a very big wall. What happens if you are standing near to the light and the wall is so far away? Your shadow will be very large. So robot working in a large uh, robot working, it will be moving, and while it is moved, the shadow projected on the wall will be very big. So it was found that it was a monstrous by this person. So the case was very much sharp, that the lawyers fighted it out very much well, and the solution made by the uh, court was that uh, while working in the night, the company should switch off their lights, because robots does not require lights to work, because they are working on sensors. So why should they have lights? So you In order to make sure that people are not frightened by the shadows, they suggested, no, you please off your lights, because the robots do not require lights to work, because they work on a sensor basis. So see, this is the level of work, or this is the level of technology, this is the level of capital based manufacturing firms has been developed in Japan and China. Because labor intensive, it is very costly, because the human value, the value of human, the human work is very much valued everywhere, not but in India, but in the other foreign countries they are very much valued, because they don't put people for work in such risky scenario, because if they can put technology there, they are working on it. So this is the way, this is, so that shows that Cobb Douglas function today is obsolete, but it gives an idea that whatever may be our production, so that is what we explain through this equation. Q means output. What is the output required? K means the positive constant, because the constant, as you mentioned, assumption of the there are many five assumptions of production function. So that will be constant. So that is K, and L will be labor input, and C will be capital input. So here L, C. So labor will be what is the labor input and what is the capital input, and we will look upon how this has been done. And here, as you see, in American context, the study reveals that Q is equal to K, which is constant. L means labor, and 3 by 4th. Why? Because 75% is on labor, and 1 by 4 is on capital. But in the present scenario, if we go for this equation, the equation will be Q is equal to KL 1 by 4 and C 3 by 4. Capital, the manufacturing industry has always changed into, or always focusing on capital, because they are focusing on machinery where huge lower number of people are required. You ask any of the manufacturer, they will be always looking for lesser laborers. So this is Cobb Douglas function, nothing but production function referring function in one input can be substituted by another input at to a limited extent. Only to a particular extent it can be substituted. So you cannot say you can take out labor out of what a company manufacturing process, because there should be a person who is controlling these things. As you know, our Kochi Metro is an autonomous one. Any person, there is no, it is not mandatory that there should be a driver, because it can drive itself. But still, we keep a driver in it, because in case of any problem, any technological error, the person can handle. So you cannot eliminate people from the, or labor from the manufacturing process, but you can reduce up to a minimum. That level is being studied by Cobb Douglas production function. But on that, in the old scenario, it was 75 percentage labor intensive and 25% capital intensive. But now, I think it will be reversed. It will be 75 percentage manufacturing or capital intensive and 25 percentage of labor intensive, because this labor system, or the labor work has been reduced by far many in the future year, and that will be substituted also, because in future what will happen, people will always think of something where artificial intelligence, uh, internet of things, and big data, this kind of things will come in, rather than you go for what people, this things will come in. And what is the importance of Cobb Douglas function? Uh, it is not necessary I mention this thing, because it most commonly used production functioning in econometrics, but it is substituted. Now, few more new things come in. If you are that much curious in these things, you can look up on websites and online what are the new Cobb Douglas production function additions, and what are its components which is newly added. And it is suitable for all industries, because not only manufacturing, service industry also uses, because in service industry labor is more, but still they also keep on what machines also useful in international and inter-industry comparisons. Most popular empirical research, very important. This is the most important mechanism used for finding which company is performing well, which company has the best combination, and taking up that. So that's what called empirical research, because people study from the existing scenario. useful in interpreting the macroeconomic results. What the change in macroeconomic level, what was the effect in micro? This can be also studied using this Cobb-Douglas production function. This is also very clearly explained in the textbook. I'm not going into that detailedly. You can just go into the textbook and look upon what is there. And now we move into the concept of product. We were discussing about production, but now we will detailedly go into product, individual. So process of doing thing is called production, and the outcome is the product. So the process is production and the outcome is product. So the first concept to be discussed is what is total product. Total product is amount of output produced by a given amount of input, keeping all levels of inputs unchanged. So the level of input you have, the level of input you can produce while producing with the given input you have. Example, you have 5 units of a product, 5 units of things like you have 5 kilos of rubber. You have 5 kilos of rubber, and how many erasers you can make? So the total number of erasers you make is called total product. 5 kilo of rubber, how many erasers you made? You made 1,000 erasers. So that can be your input output level. So the total number of goods produced out of a given level of input can be called as total product. And what is average product? The amount of output produced by input divided by quantity of input used. So how much total product you produce divided by number of input or number of quantity of input used. Example, the average product will be here we produced 1,000 units of erasers out of 5 kg of rubber. So what will be the average product? 1,000 divided by 5. 1,000 divided by 5 is 200. So we will produce 200 kg of, we had produced 1,000 kg of total product, where average product is 200 erasers per kg. And what is the marginal product? This concept is very important because total product and average product you will be always understanding. What is marginal product? So it is an addition to total product by employing an additional unit of factor. Very important. What is marginal? The term is also very tricky. Marginal. So the marginal change. So that means there is something which we have already, and something happened, and a particular amount of change has happened in the total product. Imagine I was writing an examination, and the first phase I wrote with my own experience, and I scored 80. After the examination, I understood no, it is very difficult if I do this examination by my own concepts. That is going to affect my future. So what I did, I went to a different coaching center and asked to people, what will be my mechanism? I went to, then they told me you go for rigorous coaching to this person, X. Maybe we will call it as X, Mr. X, who is a good coaching or who is a good mentor. So I went to him, I practiced, I took his all advices, prepared well, and came back and wrote examination. So you see, what is the fact input which changed? I had what my own personal experience plus the mentoring done by X. So mentoring done by X, I had increased my score from 80 to 85. So see, what is the marginal increase here? Before mentoring, I had a score of 80, and after mentoring, I have had a score of 85. So this coaching, that means coaching by X, that is my input. Due to a change in input, the change in output also was there. That means 1x coaching by X, I scored 5 extra. So that is called marginal product. So by changing any unit of input or by employing any unit of additional input, the change in total product, the change in total the product can be called as marginal product. So that is what explained in the screen. That is what explained in the PPT. The extra unit of variable input leads to addition in total product. That addition is called as marginal product. So what will be the equation? That is very important. Here I will show the equation so that you will understand it much more well. So let me take the pointer. Okay. So we'll go to the equation. What will be the equation? Imagine we have 1000 unit. We'll go with the eraser. 1000 unit of erasers produced out of 5 kg. So 1000 is my total product. What is my average product? 1000 divided by 5. 1000 divided by 5. That is what? 200 erasers per kg. That is my average product. And what is marginal product? For marginal product, you have to make it very different. One second, let me change the ink color. Yeah, for marginal product, it is different. For marginal product, we had 100,000 units of erasers produced out of 5 kg. Imagine I have increased the input. I have increased the input into 5.5 kg. In the second lot of production, I have increased my rubber contribution to 5.5 kg. And I got an output of 1250, 1250 erasers. This extra 250 is my marginal product. So what we can say, an addition in input or a change in input caused a change in output, and that change is called marginal product. So in simple terms, if you go into equation, delta input, change in input leads to what? Delta output. Delta Q means delta output. That part, that change is called, the change in output is called marginal product. I think you're clear. So this is the way how we learn the different concepts of production. So we move with this understanding: total product, average product, and marginal product. This is the fundamental for concepts of production function, because that is what we are looking into the next part in law of variable proportions, law of returns scale. This all fund concepts are based on these three factors: total product, average product, marginal product. So we move into the next part, law of production. There are two concepts. Instead of going into this, I think we will break it out, because the session will be much more lengthier if I take it to the variable proportion. So we will try to make it in 3 videos. So we'll discuss this part and the coming part in the next video. Hope you will be following me. If in case of any queries or any doubts, you can contact me. It's always open, and we will discuss it and we will complete it. So thank you.